What if I told you that the fastest Pokemon in the history of the franchise also happened to be the fastest Pokemon to ever get banned? If you were to believe that, then you would understand what happened today. Regieleki, a Pokemon known for its blazing fast 200 base speed, was unanimously banned from the Scarlet and Violet Overused metagame. It has access to an amazing ability in Transistor, coupled with the aforementioned great speed stat of 200, but it only has a mere base 100 special attack, and prior to this generation, it could not really touch anything that resisted or was immune to electric types. So what made it so good? The answer to that question is Terastallization, which happens to be the answer to many questions this generation. Upon getting access to Terra Blast and Terastallization, not only was Regieleki's presence bolstered by a large margin, as it's capable of hitting ground types, it's capable of hitting grass types, and even hitting neutrally against opposing electric types, but also the ability to bluff this go a long way. Let's look at what led to the fastest Pokemon ever getting the fastest ban in the metagame, what sets it used, why we deemed it overbearing, and how it ended up getting banned not within a week or a couple of days, but within about a day. This ban happened 25 hours after the release. I actually kind of purposely sped it up a tad just to beat the record because I thought this would be a bit of a funny concept, I guess it's a little rigged. But jokes and whatnot aside, it was a unanimous ban. It was something that had to be done, and something that, as you see, all 10 of the council members agreed upon, and based on my mentions last day, hundreds of people on Twitter and the forums and Pokemon Showdown and Discord all agreed it was time to go. So Regieleki, we'll go by Reggie because apparently I've been pronouncing it kind of wrong. I don't know. I'm not good with pronunciation, guys. I'm not going to lie. The best, in my opinion, was Substitute 3 attacks. You might see it a little counterintuitive to run Substitute and Volt Switch in the same set, and normally I would agree, but in the case of Reggie, it was so overpowered and had such a kind of do or die type of dynamic to it that it was very much justified. So let me run down and explain. Let's say my Reggie is facing a Landorus, which last generation was a great answer to it because it was a ground type, or even a Garchomp, or now a Great Tusk. These Pokemon would easily dispose of it last generation. Earthquake would take it out with ease. They could even click Stealth Rock or do whatever they'd like in front of it, and all it could do was click Swift or even explode Spell's Destruction into it, essentially rendering it not very effective. Spec Swift could maybe do 20, 25, 30% against offensive variants, but it was not moving the needle. There was no hidden power, there was no Terra Blast, and it was a dark age for electric types that relied upon those type of strategies to hit ground types. Regieleki was the kind of key example of that, and it definitely was not very good in OU because of that. It actually dropped to UU for a while before it settled in UUBL. It did have some OU viability because of fast cleaning capabilities and rapid spin, but it was more limited than that. Enter Terra Blast. Terra Blast changes that interaction against a Landorus, against a Garchomp, against a Great Tusk, to being a negative one to a more wide open one. If I were to click Terra Blast and become an Ice type and kill it, that would be awesome. Suddenly, the electric one is gone, so I can spam Thunderbolt, but also I have Terra Blast, and I was able to use it successfully to get a free kill on something that they thought would counter me. But, let's say my Landorus uses Terastallization of its own into a Steel, or a Water, or some other typing. And it ran quite a few. Same goes for Garchomp, and Great Tusk is run Water, Fire, Fighting, etc., and needless to say, all of those typings would be able to withstand a neutral or resistant, or even just 2 times super effective rather than 4 times in case of Landorus and Garchomp Terra Blast, off of only 100 base special attack. Well, then you'd be in trouble, because they could likely kill you or do lots of damage. While you do lose the weakness to Earthquake, you're still very frail, with 80 base HP and 50 base defense, and these are some of the strongest Pokemon in the game, so that would not fare well for you. However, Substitute grants you the ability to bypass that turn. If they sell out on you clicking your Terra there and they use their Terra defensively to counter you, then you could substitute to scout that and then Thunderbolt. Why? Because the types you're Terastallizing into aren't going to be the ground type, so suddenly Thunderbolt or Volt Switch, if you cannot kill them, will be able to do great deals of damage, and they won't have their electric unit anymore. Some teams did stack up with 2, but even then, there's still the potential for Terra Blast rousing both of them, substitute shenanigans, and this allowed for great scouting. Of course, the Bolt Beam coverage, besides that interaction, is still awesome. Thunderbolt plus Terra Blast, allowing you to wreak havoc and Volt Switch for some bulkier flows to chip them before you can clean them out later on in the game. Couple this with the fact that, again, with Blazing base 200 speed, you're quicker than things like +1 Volcarona or a booster energy boosted Iron Valiant, which is incredibly fast. Even Pokemon with base 110, base 105 speed, considered fast, with a Choice Scarf or a Dragon Dance or Quiver Dance or whatever it may be under their belt, would be slower than you. Some people did run modest Regieleki, which made it so that you were a bit slower than things that might have otherwise competed in that +1 range, or opposing Regieleki, but personally, I found Timid to be best across the board, mainly because of how common opposing was, also but just how fast the metagame was. But yeah, there's an argument for both, of course. This was my favorite set because of it. Now, let's say you don't want to run Substitute, you don't want to use Prediction, you maybe have another Terra use you like using as well, or maybe you just want to use it for another role. Rapid Spin is a great option on it as well. This was the set I probably saw the most commonly when it was allowed, and again, it is banned now, but just going through why it is banned, what made it banned, what made it this good. Rapid Spin helped dispose of hazards in the metagame where Spikes McGearin is running rampant, Toxic Spikes Lamora, Stealth Rocks all over the place with a lead, etc. So that was a great help as well. Otherwise, plays the same as well, you just lose that bluffing capability, more so outright prediction. Getting into an advantageous position is a little more important than this because you can't really create your own type of sequencing like this one. But yeah, then there's also just a classic like play set, same offensive presence, but you can set up screens. Choice specs, definitely a bit more risky as locking into the wrong move can go downhill real quickly, but also the upside on that, imagine a choice specs transistor, max speed, boosted all that electro ball against like a toxic specs, good riddance. And there's also like mixed with explosion. I saw this, I guess was kind of cool, kind of a different take on it. I saw this set in particular ran on rain because it had thunder. And then I also saw this set on rain with Rain Dance. I've seen a couple Rain Dance teams with Bastion Legion, but yeah, those are more fringe sets. But all in all, the point behind Regieleki and its strength in the metagame was that it was so fast that it was impossible to revenge kill without priority, and priority that hit it super effectively or hit it neutrally and strongly is literally limited to like Sucker Punch Mind Games, which again Substitute helps with from Chen Pao, or something like say Extreme Speed from Dragonite. And it's tough because you'd love to see something like Regieleki around longer because it's a new toy in a sense that it's totally redefined by terrestrialization. And I don't want to ban too many things too quickly, which I know might be a surprise to you guys. Like, oh, Smogon's banning all of the fun offensive Pokemon. Wow. Well, A, Cryo River. B, we're banning things for the sake of making more other things good. So, for example, banning Regieleki suddenly means that not only are you forced to use defensive terrestrialization like a random Terra Ground here, or potentially specific sets on your ground types, or just general counterplay to Regieleki, which is super limited, which limits team building a ton, but also you're now able to explore totally different things in their places. So instead of being handcuffed to one or two of your team slots being dedicated to this Pokemon, and you're picking from a small pool of Pokemon, now you no longer have that constraint on. So while we're removing one Pokemon, in my opinion, this is a lot of addition by subtraction. And in my opinion, any healthy tiering decision will either be addition by subtraction in the game or in the builder. This is more so in the builder. In the game, it would be an example of something more uncompetitive. This is just outright broken, but things that increase variance. We banned, for example, King's Rock because of all the cloister and other shenanigans, and that would help you in the game because you wouldn't really have to be super duper uber prepared for that. But this is kind of that sense in the builder. And obviously there is some mind game variance in the game when you're not running a substitute set, or they might call you out on it. And it's not a perfect world. Regieleki is not going to get 6 kills every game just because it's an uber now. No, quite on the contrary. It could be played, but it dictated so much attention. It was so fast. It was such a game flow controller. It was so out of control that we determined it was most appropriate to get it out of the way as soon as possible and as quick as possible. Now, I'm recording this the night of the 31st. I'll probably try and get this out tonight, but maybe tomorrow. But there are other bans to come. There are other votes to come. There's a plan on having another on the radar, which for those of you that aren't familiar, basically means that a handful, could be large, could be small, of Pokemon that are deemed potentially problematic will be voted on by the council. In order to get banned, they need over 2/3 support. So the council's 10 people currently. So if 7 out of 10, or if someone abstains, 7 out of 9, or if 2 people abstain, 6 out of 8, for example, people were to vote in favor of banning something, then it would get banned. Otherwise it'd be tough. Because they wouldn't have enough support. So, you kind of basically need, to circumvent a public suspect test, you basically need a lot of support. So my guess is that not everything on the radar is going to get banned. Maybe a couple things, maybe one, maybe two, maybe three. But yeah, I would definitely keep your eye out for that. This ban happened as I'm talking Wednesday. I posted at lunch around noon my time today, and I expect more bans on Saturday or Sunday. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to be real busy this weekend with personal stuff, but we'll make sure it gets posted, tended to. We've got a full council filled with great people. But yeah, with that in mind, I think we've seen enough Reggie for both this video and this generation, so I'm going to leave you to, but I am recording 2 more videos on some of the most exciting hot button topics in the metagame right now. I feel a little more motivated to do YouTube, and I'm trying to find pockets of time. Definitely a struggle, but I appreciate all you guys' support. If you do feel that support, let me know down below in the comments, and I'll make it happen. I really do care about you guys, this community, this game, everything's given to me, and I'd love to get back to it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Okay, bye.